All right, now we're giving you the 1 minute morning. So just finish up getting coffee, finish up your conversation, and we're going to get started in about 45 seconds. All right, have everybody take your spot. We're going to get started. Well, first of all, we want to apologize for having the starting a little bit late here today. The coffee hadn't arrived. So, and we do know that what happens up here is not as interesting and as encouraging as you having coffee and talking to each other. So that's why we waited for the coffee, because we know that is one of the most important things that happens here at Catalyst. So we want to thank you for your patience on that. So I'm Ruben Imperial. I'm on the board of City Ministry Network, and I also am the manager of Community Development and Empowerment for Stanislaus County and our Chief Executive Office. So we welcome you here today. Catalyst is a monthly gathering of leaders, of influencers, of people that really care about our community and really want to make a difference. And it's a great place to be on the first Thursday of every month, every morning. And the idea and the main purpose of why we come together here today is so that you all can connect and really find where God is leading you to work within our communities and partner within our community. So we want to thank you for being here every Thursday. You all make this a really great event. Right there where you are, if you would bow your head with me, we're going to get started with the word of prayer. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to come together one more time, to gather, to think about, to pray about, to dream, Lord, about what you would have for our communities. We ask that we are here, that we are mindful, and that you, Lord, are continually guiding us on the pathway in which you would have us to serve our community. And we thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, I'd like to highlight really quickly, you have one of these documents on your table there. If you look on the back, there are a variety of networks and efforts currently underway through City Ministry Network. This is always an important list to look through. If you are interested in any of those particular areas, there is contact information on the back. And it's one of the ways that you, as a community member, as a faith leader, or a person of faith in our city, can get involved what's going on here in our community. So I'm going to ask a few of our partners that are going to do the interview: James Bates with DataPath, John Evans, Jose Sabala. If you could come on up. We're highlighting today a partnership that has formed in our community through an effort in South Modesto. If you come up on the stage, everybody can see you, nice and bright. And so the video could see you too. So we want to make sure you're on video too, because this is going to be streamed. So there's an effort underway in South Modesto, inspired by a young man named Manny Escamilla, who lives in South Modesto and goes to church in South Modesto, has been working with his neighborhood community group, Manos Unidas, in South Modesto. And he had a dream about, well, actually, this young man has quite a story. He's went to Modesto Junior College, ends up at Berkeley, and now has to choose between Harvard, Yale, and Duke University, where he's going to continue his education. Inspiring young man. He's up there right now. There's a picture of him at Berkeley. He was going to be with us via Skype, but we had some technology issues. Every summer, though, when he's been going to college, he goes back to his neighborhood and through his local church, serves the community, whether it's through his church where he goes, Apostolic Jubilee Center. They have family fun nights, and he's done a variety of projects with Manos Unidos and other community members there. This summer, he wanted to partner with many of the students that he has met out at Berkeley, where they've been teaching young kids in neighborhoods how to do coding and how to do software development. And it's one of the new things that does not require a high school diploma or a college degree, and you can make some money. And he wanted to do that in his neighborhood and through his local church. So I'm going to let Jose talk a little bit about what Coding Camp is, and then we're going to talk about how some of the partnerships form. So.
Thank you, Ruben, and thank you, Catalyst, and everybody that's here. My name is Jose Cibola. I'm with South Modesto Partnerships in partnership with AJC Modesto and South Modesto. First and foremost, we want to thank all you guys for being here, and I got a quick 2 minutes. But Codex, if we can put that brochure up. Codex, what it is, it's a program in which young people can teach 7th graders from Hanshaw in the South Modesto community on how to write code. It's a very interactive program in which you can really dig into the young people's future. It's going to provide them an exposure into what the future like of jobs and so forth. Manny Escamilla is a great friend of mine, a young kid. I've seen him kind of raised from the ground up there in South Modesto. He has an amazing story, and I'll let him tell you one day when you meet him. But we're excited about this Codex, and how this pretty much developed is an idea from this young man named Manny in South Modesto. He developed this idea. He brought this idea to us here. The very first time I came to Catalyst, I met these great young men here to my left. To my left. And what we did, and basically what we did is we just made that connection here at Catalyst to identify resources that can make this young man's heart evolve. And I thank everybody here, and I think that's pretty much, there's going to be a website. If you want more information, his email is there. If you can't see it, see me after. We'll get you some contact information. But Codex is exciting. It's coming out in July there at Hanshaw Middle School with various partners, as you can see on the screen, with Jorge Perez, DataPath, John Evans, Catalyst, CMN, CBC, and the list goes on and on and on. So.
All right, so we have Manny Escamilla, a young man with a dream from South Modesto to do something in his neighborhood. We have a church that's willing to support that young man to work in his neighborhood. And now we have some partners that are coming alongside that young man, Manos Unidas in the church, to make this Coding Camp happen. I want to ask James and Johns, how did you get connected up to this idea of Coding Camp?
Sure. One morning I was just sitting actually at this table right here, just as many of you are, and met several people I've never met before, one of them being Jose. And just through community and getting out of some of our silos, and this venue provided a way for Jose and I to make a connection. A simple follow-up email from Jose, we exchanged contact information over the next couple catalysts running into each other. Him knowing I am part or owner of a technology company, he said, hey, there's this young man, he wants to do this coding camp in South Modesto, and I'm all about empowering people from the neighborhood for the neighborhood. And I said, how can I get behind that? So Catalyst provided a venue where we probably would have never crossed paths, and we found opportunities to connect that otherwise we wouldn't have been able to have.
For those who know John Evans, how couldn't he be connected to this some way? So we're going to ask John Evans how he got connected. So,
yeah, young again, I like that. Well, actually, if you're on the jobs cohort, raise your hand or stand up. I think there's probably a dozen of you here. And we've been sitting here waiting to get connected. We got together 2 years ago as a result of a leadership survey that CMN sponsored. And we found out that many of you wanted to collaborate around your different areas of passion. And we happen to be a group of individuals who were passionate about the importance of jobs to change the very structure and nature of a family's life and the individuals who would be employed. So we've been kind of preparing ourselves to come alongside an effort such as this. And Ruben, because of his catalyst heart and desire, asked me if we could play a role. And we met I've met people like Jose. I mean, this guy's wonderful. And Manny is just, he rocks. He's the next generation of people who will be sitting right there where you're sitting and helping us to make this city a better place for more folks. So we've just come alongside as the jobs cohort. We've got churches who are sponsoring GED classes where retired teachers are the instructors. We've got English as a second language. Just started a couple nights ago, yeah, in Jose's church. And we're also a partner in this Codex camp with 7th and 8th grade kids. I mean, does it get any better? That's exactly what this place is all about.
And just to touch on that, I could share 7 or 8 different stories of connections I made at Catalyst. This is one of my favorite highlights, but that's how John and I have got to get each other, and we're really living in community, and this provided the platform to do that.
What a great story. You're giving them a hand? Thank you all. And we know you want to hear more about the coding camp, but this interview was really about the connections that happen here and why this is an important gathering on a monthly basis. Before Marvin comes up, just want to make sure you sign in, your name, your address, your phone number. Even if you've been here before, make sure to sign in. That's how we tap your phones and your emails to figure out what you're doing. Just joking. So with us, Marvin Jacobo, the Executive Director of City Ministry Network. Oh, the announcements. Oh, oh, yes. National Night Out.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Ruben. That's all right. What a mess. Thank you. Isn't it exciting to, I'm just really thrilled with the young men as well and the women who are part of this coding camp. And you didn't meet some of the ladies because they're from Berkeley, but you'll meet them, Lord willing, in July and August. Just an incredible group of young people. I am encouraged about our city. There's an incredible group of young people that are bubbling to the surface. And all of us with gray hair or no hair, jump in there, or colored hair, depending on where you are, just to encourage them and strengthen them. Where's Dave White? Oh, there you are, David. I'm going to give this to you. As he's coming up next, I want to introduce to you our presenter. You will have some time around the table. Thanks for your patience with the coffee. Ruben was correct. You all are much more interesting than having us from up here. But David has extensive experience in economic development. In 2013, David moved from Colorado Springs to work with us as the CEO of Stanislaus Business Alliance. The Stanislaus Business Alliance serves Stanislaus County residents and businesses by doing some certain things: attracting jobs to the county, helping local companies expand, addressing the workforce needs of employers, and supplying entrepreneurs to develop their ideas into viable businesses. And it's been our pleasure to have Dave in our community. So would you please welcome David White?
Yeah, watch that first step there. Thank you, Marvin, and thank you. It's a great honor to be here today. And so first, what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask you a question. In Modesto, I want you to raise your hand when I ask this question if you agree with this. We primarily have a jobs problem. All those who think that's raise your hand if you think that's the case, so that we have a jobs problem. Okay, let me ask another question. How many of you think we primarily have a skill gap problem? Okay, then you're listening to me. You've heard me speak before. That's great. You know, we live close to one of the most vibrant economies in the world, just next door, just west of us, within an hour and a half, 2-hour commute, where they're trying to get people in desperately from foreign countries on HB1 visas to fulfill their job needs. And here we are right next door to them. Now, that's not what I'm going to talk about, but also within our own county, we have companies that cannot fill jobs. I'm going to tell you a couple of anecdotes. Just yesterday, I met with a company, a big company in our county, that employs about 1,000 people at peak. And I spent about a half an hour, or not quite half an hour, 20 minutes talking with this general manager about the jobs that he can't fill. Maintenance mechanics, electricians. He just went down a list, a litany of jobs he cannot fill. And he said, what can you do to help? Just about 2 weeks ago, I met with a company right here in Modesto that has 8 job vacancies, and these are low-skilled jobs. These are jobs where all you need is kind of brute strength, and they can't fill the jobs. And I asked the CEO, I said, why can't you fill the jobs? And he says, well, because people don't want to do this kind of work. And I pay $16, $17 an hour, but they don't want to do this kind of work. We hear this same story over and over and over again throughout our county. And so we have a skill gaps issue. It's not just hard skills like coding, which I applaud. That's fantastic what you're doing, the coding camp. We need more of that. It's not just those but it's also soft skills. Think about your childhood. Think about your background. How many of you had a job by the time you were 16 years old, by raise of hands? Almost everybody in this room had a job by the time they were 16 years old. We have kids who are graduating from college who have never worked before. We have majority of kids who are graduating or getting out of high school who've never had a job before. This is an issue. This is a problem. And we need to do something about that. We need to show young people that there are paths to prosperity. And that doesn't necessarily mean always college. I don't know what happened. I think in the 1970s, somebody had this idea that everybody had to go to college. And even getting a philosophy degree or a history degree, they had to go to college. But we have paths to prosperity that don't necessarily mean college, and maybe they could mean college later. We have a lot of companies here in our own county that if you go to work for them, they have tuition reimbursement programs. So you can be a late bloomer, and you can still have a path to prosperity. But we need to start when they're young. We need to help them understand that there are these paths early on. So I have a couple of other things I want to mention before I get into my presentation. I only have 20 minutes, but I've been praying and I've been thinking a lot about this talk, and this is the inspiration I received just the last couple of days. So we need jobs. There's no question we need jobs, and we need more jobs. We have 10.5% unemployment in this county. We have a lot of people who are underemployed. We have a lot of people who are working part-time. We need jobs. There's no question about that. So I'm not being Pollyanna, but we also need skills. And if you're living in a place where you don't really have the skills, and you don't necessarily have the path, and you don't have the mobility, then there's no way you're going to be able to get a job in the Silicon Valley. There's just no way. You don't have the skill, you don't have the mobility. It's like you could be in Mars and still not get a job in Silicon Valley. So those are issues. But we have opportunity right here in our own county. So today, the Business Alliance, along with many other partners, Congressman Denham's office, the Chamber, and many others, are hosting a job fair at the SOS Club. We thought we'd do a job fair to support the veterans. And so we reached out to the business community to try to get a few companies to come to this job fair to present and look to hire not only vets, but any job seeker. We had room for 50 companies. We had to turn several companies away that wanted to be part of the job fair. So what does that tell you? There is opportunity in our own county for jobs. We're just not connecting the dots like we should. Yesterday, I met a young man who lives here in Modesto, and he told me that he's been commuting to San Jose for the last 8 years. He works at San Jose State, part of the paint crew. They used to have a van that would commute. They would van pull over. Now he takes the ACE train, and he told me that. I said, well, wow. I said, we have opportunities here. Well, he wants to be vested in their retirement program, and he wants to be vested in their healthcare program. So he's making that commute. It takes him 2.5 hours. But he's a young man who's disciplined enough to do that every single day. So again, we have all sorts of issues and opportunities, and people are taking advantage of that. I want to tell you a little bit about my dad. My father was born in Indiana. Any Hoosiers here? Anybody born in Indiana? Okay, we have a couple. My dad was born dirt poor in Indiana. 8 brothers and sisters. Single parent home. Okay, we have that scenario here a lot. And my dad, he dropped out of high school, joined the Navy, was in the Navy for 25 years. He told me when he was young, because they couldn't put food on the table, he and his sisters would go glean the fields after harvest, pick up corn, tomatoes. That's how they put food on their table. And so I think I have, well, at least he has moral authority to talk about this issue, because he kind of lived it, and he found a path to prosperity. He was the very first person in our entire family history who received a college degree. But he did it after he was in the Navy. The Navy was a great path because they have that thing called the GI Bill that he took advantage of. But when I was a kid, he was an enlisted man in the Navy. He got into the Navy nuclear program, which was a great path for him. Very smart. He found his niche. He was succeed in that niche. But when I was a kid, he was an enlisted man in the Navy. I have 5 sisters. We didn't have many means at all. It was a pretty humble life when I was a kid. But I saw my dad, and I saw how he was determined to get his college education, which he did. At the age of 45, he finally graduated with his bachelor's degree. And then that was a paradigm-shifting experience in our family because it qualified him for much better positions, much better jobs. But he was insistent to me and my sisters, you've got to want a better life. You have to have a better path. And so I graduated from high school. I went to college. My dad was insistent on that. Now, many of us probably share those same kind of stories. But what was important was that there was a path and that there was somebody there for me to kind of guide me on this path that led me to be in a better position than my parents were. How many of you have had the same story? That you're in a better position of your parents because of the path they put you on? What I found in my life, working in various markets, working in markets that were challenged, like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, you talk about a challenged market. When I started there in '87, we had double-digit unemployment. We had an industry that was teetering, the steel industry. We had homelessness. We had crime. We had all these things, all these challenges. But over the course of 40 years, 30 years, that city has totally transformed. But one thing I've learned is that if young people want to get on a path to prosperity, they need to have good influences. Through peers, through parents, through pastors, or through pioneers. And if you think about that, these are the kind of people that have the greatest influence. Now, this young man, Manny, who went off to Berkeley, he is a pioneer. He is a pioneer who's coming back to try to give back to his community, try to help kids who are in the same boat. We've got to find those pioneers in our community, and it can't be somebody like me who comes in wearing a business suit, who's from a different planet, trying to tell them about a path to prosperity. It needs to be from those other groups that I just described. So that I think is very welcoming news about how we're finding those pioneers and those people they trust in order to show them a different path. The New York Times just came out with a study. I don't know if any of you saw it. I sent it out to our board, and it had to do with upward mobility. And they found that throughout the country, there were areas that had better upward mobility for low-income people. In fact, Stanislaus County did pretty well. We were one of the higher performers in the state of California. We did better than San Francisco. We did better than Santa Clara County. We did better than Fresno, Merced. If you think about it, it makes sense, though, because in Stanislaus County, we have a lot of manufacturing. We have a lot of paths where somebody that doesn't necessarily have skills could find a job. If you're in Santa Clara County, in Silicon Valley, there's not a lot of that there. I mean, if there's high tech and then there's minimum wage jobs. That's pretty much the story of Silicon Valley. But the areas were the lowest performing areas that had the lowest opportunity for upward mobility were cities like Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago. I've lived in those cities back east. And the challenge with some of those cities is there's not any integration. There's one part of town, and then there's another part of town. And here, what we're seeing is better integration. One of the things they pointed out in this study is that it's a good thing to intermix kids in poor neighborhoods with kids in higher, in neighborhoods of higher affluence, because then they can see success. They can be around kids who have better stability, and they can learn from that and grow from that. I thought it was a very influential study. But it's something that I think we can learn as we try to help kids develop skill. There also, another study just came out, the graduation rates are improving. In fact, Stanislaus County, our graduation rate is higher than the California average and higher than the US average. So that's something to celebrate. Okay, now on to my presentation. But I wanted to give you that kind of backdrop to think about skills, to think about paths to prosperity. If you're in a family that has a mom and a dad and a family where there's education, you're going to do pretty well. But if you're in a situation where there is a broken home and there's not a lot of good peer influence around you, and you don't have skills, then it's really hard to find that path to prosperity. So we have to think about ways to do that. Okay, so you see this chart here. This is a chart showing the unemployment rate over the last 3 years. The unemployment rate in Stanislaus County is very cyclical. It kind of goes with our peak seasons when we're harvesting and when we're processing food. But one thing you'll notice, and we're down to about 10%, we're down about 2% over last year. So the economy is improving, it's getting better. It's not near what it needs to be, but it is getting better. But look at those peaks and valleys. What do you see? 2 years ago, look at the peaks and valleys 2 years ago. Very extreme, which means to me that not a lot of diversity in our economy. There's more focus on, more dependence on food processing on these cyclical industries. But the last couple of years, those valleys are flattening out. That's a good thing. It means in my mind, my interpretation of this graph is that our economy is improving and it's diversifying. I think a lot of that has to do with what's happening in Patterson with all the new distribution centers that come in. It's happening here with new manufacturers and new offices and the economy improving overall. But we need to see the more that graph will flatten out, the better our economy will be. A lot of good indicators. GDP is improving in our county. We're starting to see, I'm just going to go through these slides very quickly so you can see some of the improvements. There are a lot of good indicators. Things are getting better. Are they getting as strong as we want? Of course not. We still have a lot of challenges, a lot of issues. But overall, they're getting better. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot about the Business Alliance today. I don't have time to do that. I do have some materials on your table that you can take back with you. There's a brochure about the Alliance and what we do. There's also our brand new, hot off the press, local industry report. A lot of good things in there that you can share and that you can read on your own. But I want to talk a little bit about, my eyes, that's hard to read back there, so I'm going to have to turn around. There's a lot of exciting things going on. One of the things that we did about a year ago is we started to really focus on visiting our local industries, local companies, and getting to know them well. So we went out and we visited 193 base employers. These are companies that engage in interstate commerce and bring new dollars into our county. We have a lot of them here in our county. We visited 193. We went through an intensive survey. We asked them a lot of questions. We found out a lot of interesting facts about those companies. We also picked up about 40 expansion projects. We also met one company that was being courted by the state of Utah to relocate. $1.5 million incentive program on the table for them. Had we not gone out there and visited with them, we could have probably lost that company. So we're really focusing on our local companies, trying to help them expand and grow. But as you can see, there's a lot going on, a lot of active projects. We have projects in the pipeline. Right now, we're working with another large distribution center that's looking at Patterson, 700 jobs, 1 million square feet, a couple $100 million investment. There's a lot of great things happening. I'm going to go through some of these a little bit. We're focusing on innovation. We're focusing on workforce development. But I want to get to some slides that will help you understand what's going on. So opportunities, we have growing companies. If you look at that report, in the local industry report, there's a really interesting graph in there. It's a scatter plot that shows high-value, high-growth companies. Of the 193 companies that we surveyed, now this tool that we use is very scientific. And we can actually put on a graph where a company is in terms of their value. That means what they pay their employees, what kind of investment they're making, and also their growth, the jobs that they're going to create. Out of the 193 companies that we surveyed, 105 of them were high value, high growth in that upper right-hand quadrant. That is amazing, and it's higher than the national average. It's really important because what that means is there's going to be opportunity. We have an improving economy. We have access to the Bay Area, low-cost business climate, ag economy. Sometimes we talk about our people in negative terms, and one thing I say all the time when I go around is stop apologizing for Modesto. Let's start talking positively about our communities. We have some consultants here. They're actually here with me today. They're helping us with our strategic plan. And they go everywhere. They said, why do we have this psyche problem? We hear it all the time, everywhere we go. I don't know how many times I've been told, why did you move here from Colorado Springs? Well, because this is an awesome place. That's why. Okay, so we asked some questions, and we found that most of the companies we interviewed are planning to hire, and they're having skill problems. They're having skill gap problems. And so you can see here that many are planning to hire. A lot of companies that are experiencing significant changes in their workforce. Nearly 2 out of 3 companies are planning to expand. 83% of the companies are adding new products. 76% of the companies, that added new projects, 76 are planning to add new products in the next 2 years. 96% of the companies that we surveyed are increasing, they're seeing their sales increase. They're seeing their market share go up. They're planning to expand, add new jobs and investment. 3/4 of the company, that's above the national average. More than 3 out of 4 companies invest in R&D. Innovation does not just happen in Silicon Valley. It's happening right here. It's happening in food processing. It's happening in ag. It's happening in logistics. It's happening in every industry. That is a great opportunity. Now here's that scatter plot. Look at that. All the companies, we put them on a graph. You see that upper right-hand quadrant? Those are high-growth, high-value companies. I was up in North Modesto last week, came across a company. So we have all these stealth companies. They don't put their sign, or they don't put their logo on the building. They're stealth companies, but you know something's happening because they have cars in the parking lot. So went inside this company. They're an apparel company. They design the apparel here. They have manufacturing contracts in China. They do all the fulfillment. They do all the sales and marketing right here out of Modesto. This company started in 2012. They now have 65 full-time employees and 11 million in sales. And there are a whole number of companies right around them that do similar things. By the way, this company, they produce clothes for middle-aged women that live in suburban and rural markets that don't have access to Nordstrom's. And that's their niche. And they do this direct marketing, direct online. It's a great company, and it's right here in Modesto. Whoops. Of all the companies that we assisted last year, 1,508 in new jobs. Look at the investment number, $221 million in new investment. That's throughout the county. There are good things happening, but that doesn't mean that we don't have problems. We certainly do. I don't want to give that impression. But I want you to know that things are improving. Now, what's going to happen, though, if we have companies that are planning to expand and they can't find the skills? Somebody raise their hand and tell me what's going to happen. They're going to go someplace else. So that's a great opportunity, but it's also a problem. If we can't connect, if we can't fix this skill gap issue, then we're going to have problems because we're going to lose those opportunities. And this is not something that's just unique to this area. This is a problem throughout the country. When I was in Colorado Springs, we had a company, in fact, it was a chair of our organization. He had a company called Springs Fabricating. They did metal fabricating for the aerospace industry primarily, but they found a new niche in the energy industry, and he had to expand. He had to find 100 people, 100 new jobs. And so you know what he told me? He said, Dave, I can't find people that can do this work. I can't find welders. I can't find machine operators. I can't find maintenance mechanics. You know why I can't find them? Well, first, they don't have the skill. Second, they can't pass a drug test. Third, they don't want to work. And so what did he do? He built a new factory in Grand Junction on the other side of the state because he couldn't find the skills. Just the other day, I'm almost done with my presentation, but just the other day, we were doing a job recruitment for a local company. And we had about 60 jobs and we had a lot of people that came to our office downtown to do this job recruitment. Not one person brought a resume. Most of them had their pants hanging halfway down their rear ends. They were not ready for a job interview. And we were joking, we said, my heavens, we might be at full employment in this county. So there is a reason why people today don't have a job. It's not because of lack of opportunity. I mean, the opportunity, if it's not here, it's just right over the Altamont. There's a reason why they don't have a job. They can't speak the language. They don't have the skills. They don't have their GED. They can't pass a drug test. Go ask employers. I mean, how many of you are employers here that can really resonate with this, what I'm saying? We have a few. This is a real problem. And so I'm out of time, but I have one last slide. What can you do? Number one, teach soft skills. Start when people are young, when they're youth. We've got to find a way to get young people into the workforce early so they can. When I was a kid, I learned my soft skills through the school of hard knocks. And if I didn't learn it on the job, my dad made sure I learned it when I came home. Communicate the opportunities. We've got to do a better job connecting the dots and start when they're young. Support and promote Love Modesto. We've got to do a better job of cleaning up our community and presenting ourselves in a positive way to the rest of the world. So that when people drive through, they don't see trash and graffiti. They say, wow, there's something happening here. Mentor young people. Build and support neighborhoods. Support downtown initiatives. The young people of today, the millennials, you know where they want to be? They want to be downtown. So we've got to have a vibrant downtown. And then collaborate, just like we're doing today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my time is up. I am very excited about the future. We have a tremendous asset here of all these young people. They just need a direction. They need a pathway, and we can help provide that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have two questions that we'd like you to kick around and around your table. We'd like you to, if you could, have somebody be the scribe on your sign-in sheets, which I know all of you signed in. If you can turn over in the back, we're going to want your ideas. So the two questions are, what are the opportunities for us to support and prepare individuals for jobs? And then number two is, why is it important for the faith community to get involved? And in our community, that's a large piece of it. So pick one of the questions, and we'll be back in a few minutes. But connect around the table. We'll be back in 5, 6, 7 minutes.
Something beautiful to touch me. I know that I'm married, 'cause I am down on my knees and waiting for something beautiful. Oh, 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 something beautiful. And the water is rising quick. And for years I was scared of it. We can't be sure when it will subside, so I won't leave your side. No, I can't leave your side. Hey, now this is my desire. Consume me like a fire, 'cause I just want something beautiful to touch me. I know that I'm married, 'cause I am down on my knees and waiting for my desire, consume me like a fire, 'cause I just want something beautiful to touch me. I know that I'm in reach, 'cause I am down on my knees and waiting for something beautiful. Oh, 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 something beautiful. Oh, oh, something beautiful. My head is spinning in the clouds. I'm lost at sea. I tried so hard to spit it out, but I still can't breathe. Tell me where to turn. Nothing to it. I'm ruined. I'm so lost, man. Feeling barely human. Can you get me through? Avalon. I tried so hard to be the king of the world. But my broken heart got shot down by a girl. Tell me where to start. There's nothing to it. I'm ruined. I'm so lost, man. Feeling barely human. Can you get me through? Avalon starts to feel like mythology. Man, my door. I can hear legend calling me. Like I've been here before. So we raise our glasses high and we drink to our health. But there ain't no elixir inside that can make me feel like myself. Hey! Yeah, was that legend just a lie? Something else, man. There's nothing to it. I'm ruined. I'm so lost, man. Feeling barely human. Can you get me through? Can you get me through? Can you get me through? Avalon. For the truth will come to fill our The wool comes down in the form of fire. And when the answers and the truth have cut their ties, will you still find me? Will you still see me through smoke? Through smoke. I was born in a house in a town just like your own. I was raised to believe in the power of the unknown. 'Cause when the answers and the truth take different sides, will you still find me? Will you still see me through smoke? Through smoke. Through smoke. Through smoke. When their whispers have
Want to introduce to you Michael Noonan, and he's from Funding, what is it? Funding Solutions. And he's been one of the consultants that's come in and been working with the Alliance. But I was back there just talking with him, and he's got a couple of positive things that he wants to say to you about Modesto. Now, the reason I have him do this is because those of us who are in the forest sometimes can't see the trees. And we get in the middle of this thing, and I'm a problem solver, so I can always tell you the 10 things that need to get worked on and get fixed, and it skews my perspective. So I wanted to give him just a few seconds to just let you know a couple of things that he sees in the city that are encouraging. So come on up this way, Mike.
Thank you all, and enjoy being here today. I actually live in San Diego, although the company's headquartered in Austin, Texas, and we do a lot of work in places like my last 6 months were in Alabama, so if I say you all a little bit, you don't know where that came from. But there we go. When I look at Modesto, and we've been here a few weeks now, and we've had a chance to talk to a lot of the local folks, the skills gap thing is we see this all over the country, and you're addressing it exactly in the right way. In other words, in Birmingham, Alabama, where I was working with the Business Alliance there, the business leaders and the community leaders and the church faith-based leaders got together and said, you know, we've had 50 years of white flight in Birmingham, and things aren't getting better. And they asked themselves, if not now, when? If not us, who? And they stepped up, and they started really to make things that I think that a lot of parallels that you can use here in Modesto. And when the business community gets passionate about getting behind something, you don't have to go bankrupt first before that happens. Hopefully that won't happen. You can really put your efforts together, build alliances and partnerships, and put that to really good use. And what we're doing is we're spending a lot of time with David and his team, going out talking to business leaders to really have the business community here put together a plan to help the Alliance do those kinds of things. So I think there's a lot of parallels to Modesto. You have some challenges, but I can tell you we've seen them all over the country, and they're very fixable, and they're sometimes they're long term. But by working together and pulling together people like this, you can make it happen. So,
thank you so much, Michael. Thank you for your help. I want to remind you as well, with the job cohort, we just finished a focus group on Catalyst. We wanted to hear from some of you that were, bought you dinner a couple weeks ago. One of the things we heard is a connecting point, action points. If you are interested in participating in either our job cohort, where's John Evans? He was here, so John's right here. Go ahead and just stand, John. Don't show us your legs, just stand. There we go. Thank you, John. John, you need some sun. Or as they say in Alabama, yeah, because I can't wear shorts. That's right. That's exactly right. So see John, or Jose's in the back as well. Jose works for Save Mart back there, and see one of those guys, and we'll connect you there to do that and participate with us in what's going on. Let me give you two, three things that I want to remind you of, and then we're going to close with a prayer together. First announcement that we want to give you is, as the slide comes on in front of me here, is National Night Out, August 4th. We have about 130 homes that have had National Night Outs over the last 4 or 5 years. We want to triple that. We've got pastors involved. Churches are signing up. We want to go over 300 homes when it comes to National Night Out. So I want to encourage you, on the table and all the piles that are there are sign-up sheets. The only thing the city is asking us to do is just sign up through their program, just so we have access. They know how many streets are signing up. I live in an association. We're going to probably be having a party together. That represents 8 streets. So just so you know how we're doing it all, sign up, please. We believe that those of us in this room representing who really the leaders of this community are, we need to be stepping out. I know that I need to surely lead by example. So that's August 4th. I want to give you plenty of time. There'll be a lot more information that comes out. Next, and that's August 4th. We always start with the farthest thing away. Inspire. We've been encouraging women in business, professional women, to participate in a lunch. We've figured out that many of you just need a place to connect with like-minded women who are professional women. And Sandy and Linda and Chrissy had they were like 35 of you at Chevy's. April 16th I'm sorry, that's not April 16th. That was last month. May 21st. Thank you so much. May 21st at Chevy's. And in fact, Mrs. Duran, can you go ahead and stand up? If you are here and you weren't a chance to go, give this from Mrs. Duran, Linda Duran. She's one of the key members of Inspire. If you'd like to be a part and you'd like to get the information, please talk to Linda and just give her your business card or give her a piece of paper with your contact information, and we'll get you going. So that's Inspire. Then finally, next month, where is Cindy Marks? Where is she? Come on up. Our Catalyst Prayer Breakfast is June 4th. We're going to celebrate all of you, companies, organizations, ministries who participated in just the Pray Modesto movement all through the year. And we're going to celebrate, so we're going to let Cindy tell you about that.
Yes, please come. Next month, we will not be meeting here. We will be meeting at Big Valley at 7 o'clock. We're trying a new thing. We're going to go ticketless this year. So we'd appreciate it if you could either go on the website, the cityministrynetwork.org, or talk to Cheryl Van Horn. Can you raise your hand, Cheryl? And you can get a table. She's right there. You can get a table, purchase a table, or just tickets individually are $10. And we'll be celebrating all of the churches that have been praying for the city for the entire year. And then we'll also be praying together for about 30 minutes. We'll be praying for the different topics: government, family, business, education, for each topic. So come out, and we're going to celebrate what God has done this last year and just pray and bless our city. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Cindy. So next month, Catalyst will be at Big Valley Church. We'll be having breakfast. We had about 300 people last year, so please get your tickets early and get your tables early. Make sure that you have plenty of room for the prayer breakfast, which is June 4th. Dave wanted me also to remind you, you're welcome to take home one of their reports for yourself. Now, over the last few months, one of the things that's been impressed upon me is just internal work. I got here this morning at 20 minutes to 6. And there was a young woman who was sitting there, and she looked homeless, or not sure, well, homeless, or, you understand the profile. I did pray with her, but I saw something in my heart happen. In my heart, I was judgmental. She was bothering me. I mean, I had doors to unlock and lights to turn on and air conditioners to get going. Now, I want you to know, if you would have been standing there with me, you'd have never known this was going on. And I didn't like what I felt inside myself. And then another guy, Vernon, came up a little after 6 as well. Same thing, same story. And I did what I should do. You would have thought, oh, wow, what a wonderful pastor. But in my heart, it was like, dude, come on, right? But the reason I tell you that story is because I saw this prayer. We're going to close with this prayer together. So if you could stand for me and say it with me. If it fits you, please say it with me together out loud. And if not, that's okay. But I'm going to put this, if we can put the prayer on the slide, it's from St. Francis of Assisi. So say this with me. Lord, make us an instrument of your peace. Where there is injury, let us bring pardon. Where there is hatred, love. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Master, grant that we may not seek so much to be consoled as to soul, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in the giving that we receive, it is in the pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in the dying that we are born to eternal life. Please pray with me. Master, thank you for your grace upon each one of us. We do know that so many of us are just so fortunate. I know my educational training sometimes was with a belt. My mother made me go to school. She made me pay attention. And in her loving way, she caused me to move in a positive direction. And there's so many who have not had those opportunities. No excuses, Master, for some of these, but there are reasons. But in each one of us in this room, may there be a spirit of compassion. That it says that when Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion for them. There wasn't the angry judgmentalism. There wasn't the negative, ugly things that easily bubble up in us. Lord, we need jobs. Men and women need the dignity of work to be able to support their own families. It was something about work that you built up in us, that we must be about work. So, Lord, there are men and women in this room who can provide work, provide jobs, who can be creative, maybe even to some degree. Here it is, do some sacrificial personal budget cutting so that others can have a job. I'm not sure what that always looks like, Master. But I pray that you would grow in us in this room a spirit of compassion. It was said of sinners that they loved being with Jesus. And may it be said of each one of us in this room that those that struggle in life, that may not be who we are, who we think we are, love being with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Hey, have a good morning. Stick